Do you want chaos? Do you want playoff chaos? Well, there are several ways this could happen. Just when that playoff picture starts to look nice and neat and tidy, I come to you with this. Everyone out there seems to be talking about how many teams the SEC could get in the playoff. We did it last week, and I said, hey, there's a chance there are as many as 7 SEC teams that finish the season with 2 or fewer losses. It's not that hard to picture. Oklahoma goes undefeated the rest of the way. Texas goes undefeated. Vandy wins out. You probably have A&M, Bama, Georgia, Ole Miss, Texas, OU, Vandy. That's 7 SEC teams that finish with 2 losses or fewer. Everyone's having fun with that. But you know what I'd like to do? While everyone else is zigging, I'd like to zag here for just a second. What about the SEC contender collapse conundrum? Tough, but we powered through it there. Because no one's talking about that, it seems. You know, Alabama plays Oklahoma this week. They could lose the game. Do you know the position that would put Alabama in? That would make them 9-2 after they play Eastern Illinois next week, going to Auburn with their playoff lives on the line, needing to win the Iron Bowl. I don't need to tell Bama fans what it's like to have anything of consequence on the line going to Jordan-Hare Stadium. No one's mind is even going there. Everyone's got Bama penciled in to Atlanta, first round bye maybe, or maybe they don't make the playoff. That's in the cards. Georgia plays Texas day after tomorrow. They could lose the game. They could play Georgia Tech and lose. Georgia, 3-loss team, out, not in the playoff. It's right there. Like that game against Georgia Tech, I know it says at Georgia Tech. It's really in Mercedes-Benz Stadium because sadly, Georgia Tech took a paycheck in exchange for moving the game. I'm not going to fault anyone. I just hate that it exists. But those are both losable games. Georgia could be out. They could be done, just like that. What about Texas? It's a lot easier to see Texas being out. They're a 6.5-point dog against Georgia Saturday. They also play Arkansas. They play Texas A&M. It's still a really tough road for Texas. Texas could easily be out. OU could lose to Bama this weekend, or lose to Missouri, or lose to LSU. They could easily be out. Vanderbilt plays Kentucky and then goes to Tennessee. One more loss there, they're done. My point there is it's tough for me to envision A&M not making the playoff. It's tough for me to envision Ole Miss not making the playoff. But outside of that, there's easily a path where Bama falls out, or Georgia falls out, or Texas falls out, or Oklahoma falls out, or Vandy falls out, or a combination of all of them fall out. Yeah, that can happen. And don't let the aggregation sites tell you it can't. Don't let press conferences tell you it can't. It most certainly can. Wouldn't be great for business in some corners of this country, but it certainly could. Now, on a related note, as we look to the SEC's neighbors to the north, the Big Ten, what about what we are calling the Big Ten flood conundrum? Not the Great Flood, just a normal garden variety figurative flood here. Follow me on this. I know some of you are visual learners. I am too, especially if you're on podcasts. I'm going to walk you through it. It's actually not that complicated. All right, right now, what is everyone thinking about the Big Ten? They're thinking Ohio State's in, Indiana's in, Oregon going to be in, so they'll have 3 teams. You know, maybe they get a 4th team. That's kind of where the general national consensus is, I've thought. All right, well, let's just tinker with it a little bit, immunity. Let's just move some things around. Let's say USC wins out. What does that include? Well, that includes them beating Iowa. It includes them going to Oregon and winning next week. And it includes them beating UCLA. USC finishes 10-2. They may even have found their way into the Big Ten championship game, but at worst, they're a 10-2, almost certain to be an at-large playoff team. What if Michigan wins out? That means they beat Northwestern, they beat Maryland, and they beat Ohio State at the end of the year. And before you say it's improbable, I've said it the last 4 years and been wrong. So I'm going to wait. I'm not going to be that guy again. Michigan would be 10-2. Now, here's what you really need to remember. Michigan's got 1 conference loss. So does that point Ohio State. If Ohio State loses to Michigan, they've both got 1 conference loss. Michigan's got the tiebreaker. If Indiana's in Indianapolis awaiting their opponent, Michigan would get the nod over Ohio State. The only question at that point would be, how does USC factor into that? And I don't even know the Big Ten tiebreaker scenario. But at the very worst, there's a 10-2 Michigan sitting there. They're going to the playoff. If they beat Ohio State, they've got the best win in the country at the very end of the year. 10-2 Michigan's going to the playoff. If Oregon just loses to USC, but otherwise they win out, Oregon's 10-2. That's it. That's all I have to say. Okay? So I just need a couple of things to happen that are well within the realm of possibility. And the Big Ten would all of a sudden have 5 playoff caliber teams. Ohio State would be there. Indiana would be there. Michigan, Oregon, USC. They're all there. And what if the perfect combination happens? What if after all the talk over the past month of how many teams the SEC could get in, half dozen or more maybe, and after all the talk of, man, could it just be Ohio State and Indiana and that's it? What if the Big Ten has more playoff teams than the SEC? Whew. Whew. And then we haven't even talked about the ACC doomsday scenario. Well, actually, we did. We talked about it Tuesday night. The ACC doomsday scenario is just where the ACC does not get a playoff team in. Hey, really quick timeout. We'll get right back to the video. Do me one favor. Make sure you're subscribed. It helps us keep the show free. It helps us keep the lights on. It helps us keep doing college football year-round, and we appreciate it. All right, back to the video. What would happen in the ACC doomsday scenario? I'll lay it out for you again if you missed the Tuesday show. But what would happen is 2 G5 teams would make the playoff. And since we're still so early in the playoff, what you've really seen is you've seen one version of the 12-team playoff. We've seen 1 year of it. And then otherwise, you've just seen projections and hypotheticals sketched on napkins and pizza boxes. You haven't really seen the real thing play out but once. So we really don't know what can and can't happen. For instance, there is a crowd out there that tells themselves G5 conference, not G5, Power 4 conference champs will always have a way into the playoff. Most of America actually thinks Power 4 conference champs are guaranteed a playoff spot. They don't even know the rules. That is not the rule. That is not the way it's written at all. That's not the structure of the playoff. The structure is this. Remember this. It's 5 and 7. 7 at-large spots, 5 spots reserved, follow me here, for the highest ranked conference champions. It didn't say Power 4. It's just always been assumed that if you're taking 5 conference champs, easily the Power 4 conference champs will be among the 5 highest ranked. They're even giving you wiggle room there. Like, you don't even need to be top 4. A G5 conference champ could even be ahead of you, but surely 2 G5 conference champs would never be ahead of a Power 4 conference champ. Well, I thought that too. Enter Duke. Duke right now has 4 losses. They're 5 and 4. But they only have 1 loss in conference play. Now, it's still a little bit of a long shot, but Duke, if they beat Virginia and North Carolina and Wake Forest, will go to Charlotte to play for the conference title. They'd probably play Georgia Tech. We'll see about that. And regardless of who they play, they'd be in Charlotte. If they win the game, they would be a 9 and 4 conference champion, a 4-loss team. And at that point, here's what we have to ask ourselves. I'm almost certain the American Conference champ will be ranked higher than Duke. That may be Tulane, it may be South Florida. Either one of them would be ranked higher than Duke. Already, we know that South Florida is ranked 25th in the committee poll. So we know where they're ranked. So the conference champ there is going to be in the 20 to 25 range. They'd be in. Here's what we don't know. If James Madison runs the table, I think they play like Coastal Carolina. There it is. They play App State, they play Washington State, and they play at Coastal Carolina. If they run the table, the question is, in this scenario, are they ranked higher than Duke? If they are, the ACC's conference champ is getting left out of the playoff. Now, I've heard some theories on what the playoff committee would do here. There is a theory out there. It's a little conspiratorial, which is fine. It's the playoff committee we're talking about after all. There's a theory out there that if you watch the playoff committee rankings or you look at them, you'll notice they don't show you past 25. They show you 1 through 25, and if there's no G5 team in the top 25, they let you know who the highest ranked G5 team is. Now, in this case, there is a G5 team in the top 25. It's USF. We don't know where James Madison is ranked, but there are context clues. So it's not like we don't have any idea where JMU is ranked. Right now, the playoff committee rankings pretty closely mirror what the AP poll is. The AP poll has USF 25 as well. It has James Madison 24th. So either the playoff committee rankings wildly deviate when it comes to James Madison, or James Madison's pretty comparable right now in resume to USF. And if that's the case, and they both win out and they win their conference championships, they're not dropping. They're only going to elevate. So I would assume both be in the 20 to 25 range. At that point, you've got to ask yourself, how highly would the committee put a 9-4 ACC champ Duke, who has not played a murderer's row of a schedule at all and has lost to Tulane and UConn and got smoked by Illinois? So they did nothing out of conference. They didn't accomplish anything out of conference, just happened to win their conference. That's the ACC doomsday scenario. And the only hope there is maybe Miami grabbed an at-large spot. But Miami could drop a game too. Like Pitt loses to Notre Dame this weekend and then beats Miami. Very, very conceivable is my point. So, man, those two G5 teams making it in. You know how angry and irate people would be? Can you imagine Selection Sunday where a Power 4 conference is told, you're not in at all? We're taking 12 teams and you're not even your conference champ is good enough to make it. That, in the words of Ian Malcolm in Jurassic Park, that is chaos.